Thank you for giving me the chance to be here today with you. So I'll present IOM institutional strategy on migration, environment, and climate change that was done before I arrived to IOM, actually, 2 years ago. It started 4 years ago, 5 years ago. IOM was the first, had a division on migration, environment, and climate change, and now on DRR as well. I mean, it's combined since 2015. So we've been doing that for a while now. So two objectives for today, it's also a way for all academics here to thank you for your great work and seeing that, you know, our strategy at IOM is also based on the work you do all. So please see the results in our policy work, in our operational work. So yeah, that's the first thing. And then if you think of some upcoming work that could be relevant to our work on local authorities, if you're working on stuff that could be interesting, that you would see a relevance to IOM, and please get in touch with me or colleagues. So just to start with a few figures that you're probably aware of already on the urban context. So 2.5 billion is are projected to live in urban areas by 2050, and 90% of this increase is in Asia and Africa. So the challenge around urbanization is very clear, and the work with local authorities and the importance of engaging with local authorities is very critical. All other figures that you see there, and in addition to that, I'll highlight two more important facts regarding so people poverty and therefore disaster risk are increasingly concentrated in cities. And the other fact is that there is no global data on urban displacement. And the politicization of migration can mean there is an inherent sensitivity in capturing population data within city context. And although, you know, our data collectors displacement tracking metrics and context-specific data, we're presently in the process of updating internal analysis of urban displacement data and aim to issue a new report later this year. Stay tuned. So what is IOM doing in terms of in this context? And that's the strategy of IOM basically. We develop solutions for people to move, for people on the move, and for people to stay. So for people it's built on a very long, you know, broad and understanding experience with local authorities in collaborating with cities. By local authorities in this context, I mean in urban context, obviously. And so for people to move, where migration is an adaptation strategy, it's written in our institutional strategy, and we firmly believe in that. And where migration is also a response to losses and damage occurring in urban context, with preemptive evacuation, for example, and planned relocation as potential solutions. For people on the move, so assistance and protection to affected communities, while empowering cities to reduce risk and invest in resilient building, making adequate housing access to essential services, so like what, a priority when finding durable solutions to displacement. And finally, we develop solutions for people to stay, to sustainable urban planning and management. We collaborate with cities, and I'll mention a few examples, project examples that we have with cities currently. So in the last 3 years, IOM implemented 160 projects in 53 countries for $335 million that are directly associated with achieving SDG 11, so make cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. And so it goes from housing to transport and sustainable urban planning, and from the expansion of green public spaces to the implementation of disaster risk management strategies. And in this context of making SDG 11 a reality, we have developed this migration governance indicators at a local level. Already 3 minutes, oh my God. And that you can look up online. So, and examples of 3 IOM projects very quickly. So we developed this MITSA project on urban and peri-urban agriculture in Senegal and Côte d'Ivoire. In order to increase the resilience of migrant and local communities, this project supports pilot initiatives led by local communities, providing capacity building to strengthen the resilience of migrant workers, returnees and IDPs in this case, and communities working in urban and peri-urban agriculture. The expected results include a better understanding of migratory dynamics in this context, and to foster dialogue on sustainable development around the implementation of migrant inclusive programming in the area of agriculture and peri-urban agriculture. Then we have IOM is also currently implementing the UNDRR displacement addendum of the disaster resilience scorecard. It's a very long name, which basically said that it's a set of assessment allowing local governments to assess the disaster resilience. So that's the idea. And it's implemented in Recife in Brazil and Port of Spain and Trinidad and Tobago in the past as well. It's the first step in establishing a comprehensive urban displacement mitigation strategy that is not clear yet in many cities actually. And it means determining exposure and vulnerability to hazards, capacity for mitigation, protection, and recovery, among other things. And finally, we have this project with the City of Paris that I mentioned to some of you that were in the workshop that I led, so I know this project better than the other one. And we collaborated with the Hugo Observatory, with François Jamel specifically, on assist basically the City of Paris and help them to better understand how climate and environmental change will affect migration and urbanization trends in Paris, and to better plan for inclusive climate adaptation policies. And the results were very interesting. I mentioned one yesterday was that we did a survey among the population, the Parisian populations, and we asked the question. It was not a scientific research, so it was not control group and so on. So it was it's a pilot project basically. So we'll get to improve that. But one of the question was what would be the action you would take in the face of if you had to face the consequences of climate change and or resource scarcity. And we had listed 15 options, and the option that people, 31% of people replied moving out of Paris. It would not be renovating house. It would not be going to a friend's place, in an emergency shelter. It would be moving out of Paris. So that opened a new spectrum for the City of Paris on not only, apprehending incoming flows, but also outgoing flows. And I think that's very interesting in Western countries. And I hope we get to collaborate with many more, and some of them are interested. And I'm done. Thank you.